Aston Martin has been hiding their real car, and what they are about to reveal in Japan could change the entire season. Because after just 2 races in 2026, their car is already breaking itself from the inside. Not metaphorically. Physically. A vibration issue so severe it is damaging the battery, forcing them to slow down just to finish races. And that means one thing. We have not seen the real AMR26 yet. But here is where it gets serious. They are not bringing a small fix to Suzuka. They are preparing a completely different version of the car. A silent B-Spec. A full reset disguised as an upgrade. New structure. New energy behavior. New balance. A version designed to unlock performance they have been hiding or unable to use. And if it works, Aston Martin does not just improve. They jump forward instantly. From the back, into the fight. But if it fails, it exposes something much worse. A concept that was broken from the very beginning. And the reason why this upgrade matters is something almost nobody noticed after China. Subscribe now, because what Aston Martin is about to reveal in Japan changes everything. The season did not start with a warning. It started with a disguise. Because in Australia, what we saw from Aston Martin did not look like a team in crisis. It looked like a team, not ready yet. Subtle difference. Easy to ignore. But that illusion did not last long. Because from the very first laps, something felt wrong. Not slow in a normal way. Not just lacking pace. Unstable. Difficult. Almost unpredictable. And in Formula 1, that is never a coincidence. That is always a signal. At first, the team treated it like a standard early season issue. New regulations. New systems. New partnership with Honda. Everything needed time. That was the narrative. That was the explanation. But then qualifying exposed the first real crack. The gap was not small. It was not manageable. It was seconds. And when you lose that much time across multiple sectors, it tells a very specific story. This is not one weakness. This is a car that is not operating as intended. But here is where it gets more interesting. Because inside the team, the focus was not on extracting performance. It was on protecting the car. Running conservative settings. Managing components. Avoiding pushing too hard. And that changes everything. Because when a team is already holding back in race 1, it means they know something we do not. And then China removed any remaining doubt. Because instead of progress, the situation escalated. Both cars out. Different failures. Same underlying pattern. And that is when the internal concern became visible from the outside. Because when problems repeat across completely different circuits, fast corners, slow corners, long straights, it is no longer setup. It is not track specific. It is embedded in the car. And this is where the first real explanation starts to surface. A vibration issue. But not the kind you fix overnight. Not the kind you isolate easily. This is systemic. A structural interaction between the power unit and the chassis. A frequency that builds, amplifies, and spreads through the entire car. And once it reaches critical components, everything begins to fail. Especially the battery. And that single detail explains why Aston Martin suddenly looked like a completely different team. Because once the energy system becomes unstable, you lose deployment. You lose consistency. You lose confidence. And without energy, in this era of Formula 1, you are not competitive. But this is where most people stopped looking. They saw the retirements. They saw the lack of pace. And they assumed this was just a bad start. What they missed is that Aston Martin was never showing its real car in the first place. They were managing a version of it. Limiting it. Containing it. Almost like running below the threshold where everything breaks. And that means something very important. Everything we have seen so far is not the true performance of this car. It is the restricted version. The safe version. The controlled version. And now, with Japan just days away, that version is about to disappear. Because what is coming to Japan is not a fix. It is a controlled risk. A decision to stop hiding the problem and finally confront it. And this is where the idea of the B-Spec becomes real. Not as a label, but as a shift in philosophy. Because Aston Martin is no longer trying to survive races. They are trying to unlock the car. And to do that, they have to change how the entire system behaves. Starting with the most sensitive element of all. The battery. Right now, it is not just underperforming. It is under attack. Constant vibration transferring directly into it, damaging stability, forcing the team to operate below optimal levels. So the solution they are preparing is not small. It is structural. A new way of isolating the battery from the chassis. A different mounting concept. Designed not just to hold the component, but to protect it. To absorb energy instead of transmitting it. And that single change has consequences everywhere. Because once you alter how the battery sits inside the car, You change weight distribution. You change the center of gravity. You change how the car reacts under braking. Through fast corners. On corner exit. And suddenly, the same car that felt unpredictable starts behaving differently. But here is where things get even more interesting. Because this is not just about fixing a weakness. It is about removing a limitation. Right now, Aston Martin cannot use the full potential of its energy system. They are holding back. Reducing deployment. Managing regeneration carefully. Avoiding stress. Which means they are leaving performance on the table every single lap. Especially in critical moments. Overtaking. Defending. Exiting slow corners. And that is exactly where time is lost. So alongside the hardware changes, comes a second layer. Software. New energy maps. More aggressive deployment strategies. A different way of using the power unit. And this is where the car could transform instantly. Because in this regulation era, energy is lap time. And unlocking it is like finding speed without changing aerodynamics. But there is a problem. A very real one. Because pushing more energy through a system that was already failing is a risk. A calculated one. But still a risk. And this is why this update feels different. Because Aston Martin is not moving step by step. They are stacking solutions. Vibration fix. Battery isolation. Energy optimization. All at once. And when you combine that many changes in such a short time, you are not evolving the car. You are redefining it. And that brings us to another layer that most people are not even considering. Driver feel. Because up until now, the drivers have not trusted the car. Unstable rear. Unexpected behavior under braking. Inconsistent balance. And when that happens, performance is never fully extracted. So if this new version stabilizes the platform, if it gives the drivers confidence, then lap time will not just come from the car. It will come from the driver unlocking it. And that is where things can change very quickly. But Suzuka is not a forgiving place to test this. High-speed sections. Rapid direction changes. No margin for error. If something is still wrong, Suzuka will expose it immediately. But if everything finally clicks, if the car behaves the way it was designed to, then what we will see on track will not be an improvement. It will feel like a different machine. And that is why this moment matters so much. Because Aston Martin is about to stop hiding. They are about to show what this car really is capable of. And the only question now is, will that version match the ambition behind it, or expose how far they still have to go? And this is where the situation reaches its breaking point. Because everything Aston Martin is doing right now comes down to one unavoidable truth. They do not have time to get this wrong. Japan is not just another race. It is the deadline. The moment where theory meets reality. Because inside the factory, they already know something we are only starting to understand. This car was designed with a very narrow operating window. A very precise balance between performance and stability. And right now, they are outside of that window. Completely. That is why nothing works together. The engine cannot deliver full power. The energy system cannot operate freely. The chassis cannot stay consistent. Everything is slightly disconnected. And in Formula 1, slightly is everything. But here is the detail that changes the entire picture. If they manage to bring the car back into that operating window, everything improves at the same time. Not step by step. All at once. Because this is not a car that gains tense gradually. This is a car that unlocks performance. Suddenly. And that is why the team still believes. Because the data, behind closed doors, suggests that the potential is there. Hidden. Blocked. But real. And this is what makes the Japan upgrade so dangerous, for everyone else. Because if Aston Martin finally runs the car as it was intended, we are not talking about a small improvement. We are talking about a shift in position. A team that looked lost, suddenly becoming competitive. But here is the part that adds even more pressure. Other teams are not standing still. They are developing. Refining. Understanding their own cars more with every lap. So Aston Martin is not just trying to fix itself. They are trying to catch a moving target. And that is one of the hardest things to do in this sport. Because even if they unlock performance, they still need to understand it quickly. Develop it. Maximize it. And that requires something they have not had so far. Track time. Clean laps. Consistent running. And without that, even a fast car remains limited. But this is where Suzuka becomes more than just a race. It becomes a filter. Because Suzuka does not lie. High-speed commitment. Precision through flowing corners. No room to hide instability. No way to mask weaknesses. If the car is still flawed, it will show immediately. But if it is finally working, the difference will be obvious from the first laps. Not subtle. Not gradual. Clear. And that is when everything changes. Because once the team sees that the concept works, confidence returns, development accelerates, decisions become clearer, and suddenly, the season resets. But if that moment does not come, if the car still struggles, if the same patterns appear again, then the conclusion becomes unavoidable. This is not just an early season issue. It is a deeper problem. A limitation built into the DNA of the car. And that is something no quick upgrade can fix. So now, everything leads to one single moment. The first real push lap in Suzuka. Because in that lap, in that one moment of commitment, we will finally see the truth. Not the version Aston Martin has been protecting. Not the version they have been managing. The real one. The one they built this entire project around. And the question is no longer whether they can improve. The question is whether that car was ever capable of becoming what they promised. And this is where everything finally gets exposed. Because up until now, Aston Martin has been controlling the narrative, limiting the car, managing the damage, hiding the true performance behind reliability issues. But Suzuka takes that control away. Completely. Because there is one moment in every race weekend that no team can fake. One moment where everything is revealed. Qualifying. Low fuel. Maximum push. Full commitment. No excuses. And that is where this entire story reaches its conclusion. Because if the changes they are bringing actually work, if the vibration is reduced, if the battery finally operates normally, if the energy system is unleashed the way it was designed, then in that single lap, everything will become clear. The car will come alive. Straight line speed will improve. Corner stability will return. Driver confidence will show immediately. And the lap time will not be marginally better. It will jump. Because this car is not missing small details. It is missing access to its own potential. And unlocking that changes everything in an instant. But if that does not happen, if the car still looks unstable, if the drivers are still fighting it through high-speed corners, if the energy deployment still looks limited, then the conclusion becomes unavoidable. This is not a hidden gem waiting to be unlocked. This is a concept that never fully worked. And that is why this moment is so critical. Because there is no middle ground left. Either Aston Martin reveals a completely different car, or they confirm that what we have seen so far is exactly what they built. And here is the final detail that makes this even bigger. If they succeed in Japan, they do not just fix their season. They change the development race. Because a car that suddenly gains performance like that forces every other team to react, to question their own concepts, to accelerate their own upgrades. And that creates pressure across the entire grid. But if they fail, that pressure turns inward.